yeah, so we'll be moving towards that level of complexity, I would say. So let me just give me a minute. Why is this not moving away? Yeah, here. This thing. Okay. So the very first field today that we'll be talking about is convert currency field. A convert currency is primarily used for the purpose of multi currency deployments, where we are deploying Workday for employees spread across multiple geographical locations, or for that matter, in finance term, where the company's cost centers and the company's operations are spread across different geographical locations. So, in that case, let's take from a HCM perspective, maybe we get salaries in our own currency, right? In the work location country where we are based out of, correct?
Yeah.
Maybe you are getting salary in USD, but I'm getting it in INR, or for that matter, you might be getting it in euros. I'm getting it in USD. That's right how it happens. But for
Yes.
calculation purposes and for other analysis purposes, many a times we have to ensure that whatever we are reporting on the report has to be in a uniform currency, the preferred currency that is asked by the stakeholder. So in Workday, we very well have means to do that. Not just that, we can also ensure that if suppose I'm a compensation consultant, suppose, okay, I deal with designing your compensation plans and everything, and you happen to be an employee in the organization. Now, for me, I have to analyze data in my preferred currency. Suppose maybe I'm sitting in Europe and my currency is euro, but you are getting paid in INR. But irrespective of where you are sitting, for my analysis purpose, I have to see everything in my preferred currency. So those kind of situations can arise. Same goes from a financials perspective. Maybe my vendors are situated across the globe, right? Their payments are going out across the globe, or maybe my debtors are sitting across the globe, and I have lended money to them across the globe in different currencies. But when it comes to my income statement, or when it comes to my ledger or something of that sort, the books that we publish to our shareholders and everything of that sort, maybe my company's home office, or my company's home office is situated somewhere in Asia. So maybe I have to present my books to them in INR or something, some other currency, irrespective of in what currency did I make my payments. That is where these kind of calculations come handy. Okay, so let's
Okay.
quickly see how to create a convert currency function. Now here what we'll be doing is we will be converting someone's currency into USD, irrespective of what currency they are in. We will be looking at their currency as a USD. So we'll use the same task as create calculated fields. And the field that you use in this should always be a currency field or a numerical. You cannot use a text field, or what do we say, as any other field instance or something of that sort. So base pay in USD, that's my field name. Base pays are usually based out of either a compensation business object like compensation event, or those kind of things. It's also based off worker, where you get to see the particular worker's base pay. So right now I'm choosing that. And the function that I'm using here is convert currency. Now, if you will look at this, if I go under by category, let me just show you what all kind of fields you can use for convert currency. Amount. Let me just click on all amount fields. So see, only and only currency fields are coming up. None of the numerical fields are coming up. Means your field has to have a currency value stored in it to be converted into a convert currency function. Okay,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
how it is. You have to always use a currency field. So for me right now, my need is to convert total base pay, annual base pay. So I'm just gonna, sorry, I'm typing that wrong. This one is a worker based, so that's why I'm
Okay.
pulling it. So if you look
Oh,
at the definition of total base pay, it's the annualized base pay for an employee's primary job. So basically in your salary slip, what shows as base pay, this is going to return as that. Okay. So that's
Okay.
what. So basically, it's the sum of employees' compensation element that are considered as base pay, right? Maybe your base pay consists of differential allowance or leave travel allowance as well. So sum of all that is your base pay, and it's a currency field. This particular currency sign, the dollar sign here itself denotes that it's a currency field. Okay.
Okay.
So that's how it is. Now comes our next thing that it asks from us is the target currency code field. Now here I want that I know that it has to be USD, right? So I'm simply going to look for USD. But many a times we don't know which currency do we have to convert it. The requirement might come that people who are running the report should see it in their preferred currency. Many a times that is a requirement, that we don't know what currency do we want to report on, but people should see their preferred currency. So in Workday there is a very good thing. Let me just duplicate the tab and show. You can assign your preferences in Workday as a Workday user. Okay. Maybe you don't understand English that better. You're much fluent with French as a language. You can choose your preferences when it comes to the locale, the time zone that you want to set, or for that matter, the currency that you want, your preferences. Very well, your preferences can be set. You can go over here and you can very well click on these things and you can edit it from here. So my requirement might be that any person who's running this report should see this field in their own preference currency field, which means whatever preference you have set up here in your currency preference, you should be able to see the field in that particular currency. So if such kind of requirements come and you don't know what is the exact currency you have to convert it to, there is a field in Workday that's called user preferred currency. You can simply type that, and that way if someone's preferred currency is INR, they will see the base pay analyzed converted to INR. If someone's is euro, they will see it in euro. Okay, so that's one
Yeah.
way of building this field. But right now I know very clearly that I have to do this in USD, so I'm doing. Now comes as of date field. Now as of date is basically your conversion date or your current date. So I'll show you, there are different kinds of as of date field in this. Now basically as of date is current date, what is the exchange value stored in this system as of current date. That's so basically we always say current date because there has to be an exchange value stored as of current date, but many a times this current date doesn't work. Okay, because I'll show you why. Then we have to change this what do you say, we have to change this entire date to something else, and I'll show you why I'm not getting current. Yeah, current moment, here it is. Okay, so basically how fields currency rates, from where Workday is going to get that exchange value, right? To convert a currency, like how we do in usual scenario, we just look at what's the current exchange value, right? And we
Yeah.
multiply or divide by that current. So in Workday also there has to be an exchange value stored, right, for this currency to be converted. So there is something called in Workday as maintain exchange rate or maintain currency value. Let me just quickly recall that. I guess it's called maintain currency conversion rate. Yeah, it's called maintain currency. So suppose you want to know what is the particular currency for let me just show. So there are different kinds of currency conversion rate. There is a budget related, there is an average, there is a current, there is a period, and there's a quarterly average. I usually deal mostly with average and current in HCM world. Many a times for finance, you will see budget and corporate also coming into picture. Depends which particular kind of currency conversion rate is being fed into your system. So let me first check whether they have fed a current currency rate or not. And I want to see what is the conversion rate of INR to USD. So let me just see if there has been something fed or not. Let me click on OK. Oh, sorry. See, there is no currency rate fed into the system as of now. But there is a previous currency rate that was fed into the system as of 2nd of April. Means after that, this currency rate has not been revised. So if you enter over here current date and time, so annoying. If you enter here current date and time, your particular field will run into error because as of current moment when the report is being run, the currency rate is 0. So it's not going to work. So always go and verify this thing. if at all there is a current, or let's look at something called as average. I would also want to check.
The mode.
You have to just check. It's usually it is an integration is created for that all the
Okay.
time. You
It's
always
just for
have an
checking
integration.
purpose.
Yes, you
Yeah.
have to just ensure what is the last date when it was fed, because if it was not fed, because what happens is when if an integration is maintained, the integration constantly keeps flowing that value into that. Okay, but if
Okay.
an integration is not maintained, then someone has to manually go and keep updating these. It's like
Oh,
that. Usually, I know this is a test tenant, so we really don't go that far to create integration, but in real time deployments, usually that's how currency rates are fed. But you have to always check when was the last time this particular currency had an exchange rate. Okay, so for
yeah.
me, I can see it was now this one is 20th of April. If I use the average calculation, my effective date is 20th of April. Okay,
Okay.
but if I use the current one, my effective date is 2nd of April. So if you're seeing previous for the average one, the previous currency rate value is different because it's summing up over a period of time and then finding out what has been the average trend over a period of time of this. I usually prefer current one. I don't go until unless I'm explicitly said that hey, we want to look the exchange rate as an average on an average basis, then only I go with this route, or usually I always follow the current one until unless it's explicitly called out to me. So whenever you're building a report, be it finance report or a HCM, ask them that what do you want to see? Do you want to see the current currency rate or the average currency conversion rate, something of that sort? Okay.
Okay.
So let me again verify. So see, now this particular currency has been fed off 2nd of April 2021. If I'll put created right moment, date and time, it's going to return 0 to me. So what I'm going to put it here is I'm going to put a static. I will create, I've shown you, right, how to create a date constant. We will create a date constant of 2nd of April and we will put it here so that whenever I'm running the report, my report can look at a value. Okay,
Yeah.
that way. So, but right now I'm just gonna see if there is a effective currency date field. Should be. If not, then we should ideally be entering a no, it's not there. So right now I'm just gonna say current moment and date, but always do your due diligence. Look at the maintain currency conversion task and see what was the last date on which your whichever currency rate type you're using. Okay. If you
Okay.
don't find that, then yes, you have to follow up with them that what is the duration when you guys enter this and things of those sort, and then accordingly you have to choose this as of date field. So be cautious while doing this. I'm looking at current currency, so I'm going to look at that. Return 0 on error, of course, rule of the thumb. Check this checkbox and you're done with this particular field. Shandi, I just want you to do one thing. Whatever fields I'm creating, okay? Try to
Yeah.
create two dummy reports. Many a times my field are on worker, but many a times you might see it is on journal line, right? So
Okay.
create two reports, one on worker, one on journal line, and try to bring these fields into your report and run it for a test instance. Just do a test instance and see how of these outputs are coming. If you can start playing around all these fields, you can listen to the recording and you can see the field name. It's all in the
Yeah.
tenant and you can start playing around with them. Okay.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's about creating convert currency fields. Now comes our next question here is creating true and false conditions. So there is more, before I go to show you how to build these fields as a calculated field, I want to talk about something called as flags in Workday. Flags in Workday are something called a particular boolean, we call it in Workday, that returns yes or no value. But whether it denotes whether a particular condition for something is true or not. Condition like if I have to say that, hey, is someone's management level executive? And I want to see if it's true or not. Then we use these kind of instances. In Workday, we already have delivered fields like is active, on leave, is terminated, because these are flags in Workday. Let me just show you. So these are Workday delivered true and false field, but I still want you to explore it before we go into that. So let me just see if no, this is academic. This is a student-based field. Where is the employee one? Why can I not see? Yeah, here we are. Holdable assignment, gift, worker. But this is, yeah,
This is
Workday
Boolean.
delivered. Yeah.
Boolean.
Yeah, so this is true and false or Boolean as Workday likes to call it. This is a Workday delivered field. If I use this field in my report against the worker business object, it will tell me whether the worker is still active in the system or not, which means do they have a still active work agreement with the organization or not, or they have been terminated. Okay. So these are certain Workday delivered. Another Workday delivered Boolean field that we usually use is terminated. That flag will show yes if someone is terminated. If their status in Workday is terminated, it will show as blank if their status is not. So know that if the condition happens to be true, Workday shows it as yes. But if it happens to be false, it will not show it as no. It will show it as blank. So this is something we should remember until unless we do some further calculations to make it show as no. But until unless you just use the delivered true and false condition, if it's true, it's going to show as yes. If it's false, it's just going to show as blank. So today when I create the field, try to use it on your worker BO report and see how it's going to show. Okay.
Okay.
So different kind of use case scenario that you can we can talk about today is that let's find if someone's employees if one of the employees salary range is in a particular range or not. Okay, maybe we want to see that what is the salary range, if a particular salary range holds true for them or not. So that's one particular calculation we will do, and then I will show you how do we go about building evaluate expression based on that particular calculation level. Okay.
Okay.
So suppose there are, yeah. So suppose I want to find the following things. Salary worker. And I want to see if two ranges are true for it or not. Okay. First, I want to see if their annual base pay is greater than 1 lakh or not. Okay. So I'm going to see that. First condition, I want to see annual base pay greater than 1 lakh. I'm just going to type lakh here. Right now, it's too much to type so many numbers. The second condition I want to see here is if their annual base pay is in the range of 1 lakh to 2 lakhs. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
This is how we do that. This is what we will go and build as a condition. So now in Workday to build a condition again, we will use create calculated field, and these are both worker based fields, total base pay annualized. So what we are going to do is Workday calls it Boolean, but it actually, if you look at the name of the function, it's called as true and false condition. They happen to fall towards the end of
Okay.
the function values. Now, the field, what we are trying to compare here is the base pay, right? The annual
Yeah.
base pay here. That's what we are trying to compare. So whichever value you are trying to do a comparison on, that should be your, I would say, just a second, annual base pay. Yeah, total base pay. This is a field I'm trying to draw. So a field will always be that value. Now comes operator. Usually people tend to get into all, but my suggestion always is whenever you look at operator field, always use frequently used. The reason being because all will give you all the operators irrespective of what is your field type. But
Okay.
frequently used will give you only those operators which are relevant to this field type. So many a times you might click on all and end up using a field or operator type which is not relevant to your field. Okay, and that
Okay.
way your condition might not work correctly. So always go with the same safe option of using frequently used.
Greater
So
than.
what is my condition here? That my
Greater.
base pay should be greater than value specified in this filter, which is 1 lakh. This will be
Comparison.
automatically defaulted, the comparison type. There are two comparison types, value from another field and value specified in this filter. We use value from another field when we don't have to compare this value to a static value, but we want this to be compared to another field. So let's say I want to compare base pay to, I'll just type amount and see what all comes up. Suppose I don't want to know if the base pay is greater than 1 lakh. I want to know if the base pay is greater than the bonus amount. So suppose I'm doing a comparison that did someone get a more base pay than their bonus, or did they get a less base pay than their bonus. Now bonus is going to vary person to person, right? I don't know if it's a I don't know now that maybe everyone got a 1 lakh bonus. So I don't know that I have to compare it to a lakh or what amount. I just know that I have to compare this particular field to another variable, which happens to be bonus, right? So in
Yeah.
that case, rather than using a static value, you will leverage this option value from another field and you will pull that other field. Now this other field has to be built on the worker business object to come here. If you're trying to compare it to some other BO based field, it's not going to come here. In that way, you will have to bring it on the worker BO. But yes, it has to be on the worker BO, either via calculation or by its delivered nature. Got it?
Yeah. Okay.
So that's why we use. But right now, I'm just going to show you the simple comparison here, value specified in this filter, which happens to be 1 lakh. Okay. So this is my first condition. I built my first condition, annual base pay is greater than 1 lakh. My next condition is I have to see if the base pay is in the range of 1 lakh to 2 lakh. So let me create another calculation from here. Now this one's going to be slightly different. Earlier we were just looking at one condition, but here we are dealing with two conditions because we are looking at range, right? So let me just show you how to do that. Where is the, yeah, here it is. Always before using a field, make sure that you read the description of the field, okay? So that you're sure that this is what I'm trying to achieve. If it doesn't matches your need, you will have to look for another field or maybe try to create another field for yourself. But that should always be a good way to proceed with a field, to click on those three dots and see if it's a Workday delivered field. Workday always writes a thorough description of what this field does. Okay, if it happens to a calculated field, then open that calculation and see if it's something that you're looking for, it's close to that, or it doesn't suit your need. Okay, so now my need here is that I want to see if someone's annual base pay is falling under the 1 lakh to 2 lakh category. So I'm gonna say either it has to be greater than or equal to 1 lakh, correct? Because the lower limit of this is right 1 lakh, so it has to be greater than 1 lakh, correct? The lower limit
Yeah.
is 1 lakh. Now the upper limit happens to be 2 lakhs, so I have to again do another condition here, total annual. And this has to be my upper limit, so I cannot say greater than, right? Since it has to fall between that limit, I will say less than or equal to 2 lakh, correct? So
Yeah.
that's how we build this condition. Now there's something else I want to explain you. If you will see, there is something called and or. Okay, if you want both the conditions to be true for this to be returned as yes, you should keep this as and. But if you want only, if you find that if either of the condition is true and this field should return a yes value for me, then you should make it as or. Means if even if the first one is being true and the second one is false, then also it should return me a yes value. But if you want that only and only if both the values are true for me, then only it should return yes, then I should keep it to and. Understood? How do we frame this? Why,
Okay.
when do we play with and or?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how we play with and or. Oh god, yeah. So this is about true and false condition. We will be using this true and false condition to make our next type of field, which happens to be evaluate expression. The reason I
Yeah.
built this was because
So only in this
it's
case
not
it's
random. It is going to apply to each scenario like this. Like if so, suppose how do I tell you? Okay, let me do it that way. Suppose I'm comparing someone's base pay and I'm comparing their management level. Okay, and
okay.
I want to say that if their base pay is in the range of 1 to 2 lakh or their management level is executive, maybe I want to name that group as someone. Okay. Suppose that way. So suppose I want to say that if someone's base pay is in the range of 1 to 2 lakh or they belong to the management level of what do we say executive, let's call them the high performance, something of that sort, just very
Yeah.
random. Okay, let's call them high performance, but it's not necessary that all the three conditions should be true. They should either sit in the management level of executive or the base pay should be in the range of 1 lakh to 2 lakh. Okay,
Yeah.
in that case you are looking at either condition. So I will now have to add one more condition. So what it should be, should search for a field called management level, right?
Yeah.
So I will compare this management level value to what was my condition here that they should be.
In between 1 lakh or two.
No, that's the annual base pay. My management level should be executive, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So management levels are basically nothing but how we designate ourselves that
Hierarchy. Yeah.
I'm at level 2, level 4, I have been
Yeah.
promoted to level 5 and things of those sort. Same,
Yes.
it's management level. Every company names their employees management level in a different manner. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to go to frequently used. If you will see, how did the frequently used option changed here? When it was a currency field, it was showing as less than equal than. The moment it became an instance field, it said in the selection list not. Because right now I'm looking at a particular value which should be true, I will say in the selection list. Had it been that the management level should not be executive, I would have selected not in the selection list. Okay.
Okay.
So right now the management level should be a particular value, right? So I'm going to select in the selection list value in this field. Let's see what all management level values are configured in this tenant. I'm just going to select one. I hope they have executive.
Yeah,
Usually
there is
people
one
configure.
execute. Somewhere I saw executive.
Yeah, why? Let's select this. Okay, executive
Yeah.
VP. This is the management level. But I don't want all of these to be true. I only want either one. But if you will see, until and unless I don't group these two under one, Workday is not going to consider this as one. Which
Okay.
means for Workday to consider this as one condition, I have to add parenthesis, open and close parenthesis. Then only Workday will consider it as one condition. If I will not add this, Workday is first gonna say, okay, this is true, then let's return it as yes. Okay, this is also true. Even if this would have not been true, Workday would have returned yes. So always, whenever you are trying to tell Workday that two particular conditions should be looked at as one condition, when there are multiple other conditions as well. I'm talking in that respect. Had this
Yeah.
been not been added as a condition, it would have been fine for us. But since there is a third condition that we are comparing our first two conditions to, then we should always group them. And the way to group them is to add a parenthesis. So I'm going to add these parentheses. Also, you will have to change this to or, because either this condition has to be true or this condition has to be true, correct?
Yeah.
But these both have to be true for this, my first condition to be true. You're getting the analogy. You're understanding how it's
Yes.
flowing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. My condition is either the annual base pay should be in the range of 1 lakh to 2 lakh, means and. This is my one condition. Or my management level has to be executive VP, which is another condition. And it's not that both of them should be true. Either this becomes true, since it's either, my first condition will become or, and because it's either for the second was as well. So you have to see these two grouped as one condition, and these three grouped as two conditions. Got it?
Yes.
How do
Yeah.
we create these kind of fields? I'm sure you must have seen it in the tenant. People
Yeah.
might be playing around with this. This plays a lot with the, what do you say, with the oh god, you will get to see it a lot in the true and false conditions, but yes, it's very important. Also, my ask here is that If you want to see if your parenthesis is working fine or not, or your or condition is working, break them. If you're in a test phase of a report, break them and add these conditions individually and see that, okay, maybe this condition is true, then why is my report returning no? Because I have put or, then it should return yes, and things like those sort. Okay, so
Okay.
break them
Yeah.
and add it in your report and then justify and see. Understood?
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to change this particular, or maybe just let me just copy this one, because I have to use this particular field in my evaluate expression. Let me find that field because I will have to edit that other field, given we'll be using it in our evaluate expression. Okay, so this is about creating true and false condition. Now let's move to evaluate expression. So suppose if you solely add a true and false condition to your report, the maximum value you will get on the report, that field value will be yes or a blank, like I said. If the condition is true, Workday is going to return you a yes. If it's false, Workday is going to return you a blank. But I usually see that condition, that those things not ending at there. A true and false always ends up being a evaluate expression. Why? Because I'll tell you. These true and false conditions are always asked by clients to be in a particular, to be shown in a particular, with a particular text or maybe with a particular other instance. Okay. Like they say that if a particular condition is true, number one should be returned. If a particular condition is true, this particular text should be returned. So like they might say that if someone is active, let's call them active in the system. If someone is on leave, let's call them leave resource. If someone is terminated, let's call them uh, departed resource. Or if someone is retired, let's call them retiree, right? Now you have conditions, true and false conditions built for them, right? You have an is
Yeah.
active, is terminated. But how do you ensure that rather than returning a yes value or a blank value, it returns a active or so and so value? You're getting to understand that?
Yeah.
So in when we have such requirements coming up in front of us, we go and leverage the evaluate expression field. That is when we deal with evaluate expression. So let me create a calculation from here for this particular. So let me open my notepad and tell you what exactly. So my requirement here is that if someone's annual base pay is greater than 1 lakh, and let me tweak this. If it's greater than 1 lakh and less than 2 lakh, we'll tweak the field and you will help me tweak this field. They should be called as uh, medium compensated. Okay,
Okay.
they if they should fall under the group of medium. But if the annual base pay is uh no, I am actually making the same statement above as well.
Yeah.
Okay, if the annual base pay is, I'll edit this field and I'll say if their annual base pay is less than 1 lakh, okay, then they will be called as medium compensated. But
Compensation.
if they're falling under the range of 1 lakh to 2 lakh, they should be called as highly compensated. Okay, that's
Yeah.
what my client wants to look at. So if a worker's compensation is falling in the above range, it should return the value medium compensated. The field should return the value medium compensated. If the worker is falling in the second category, that field should return the highly compensated value. Okay. Now let me tweak
Yes.
my first field that said that annual base pay is greater than. I'll tweak it and you will help me tweak that field. I have to just change it. Rather than saying greater than 1 lakh, I have to make it less than 1 lakh.
So this one we already created a calculated field.
Yeah,
That's why this is there.
exactly. And if you have to already tweak the logic of a existing calculated field, you just look for the name of that calculated field. You might want to edit the name. If you are fine with the name, you might leave it. And you just have to go here and change certain things based on your new requirement. Okay. I
Okay.
want it to be less than, so I'm just going to go here and everything else remains the same. I don't want
So
to change the
whenever
amount.
we
Get
create,
updated. It'll automatically, that name, the name of the field will be removed from the system. You won't see anything as greater than 1 lakh in the system now, nor that calculation. I'm basically changing the entire name, logic, everything of this field. Okay. Had I kept the name same and just the logic I would have changed, then you would have been able to. But it's like you are wiping off the logic of the field altogether. Okay. If
okay,
I want to maybe copy this field and make certain, so suppose I'm fine with this logic, but I want to add some other logic to this. I will use this function copy. Rather than editing the field, I will copy this field and I will then add more logics to my existing logic. And that copy should be named as per your need, whatever you want to name it. Okay.
oh, okay,
So if you want to remove an existing logic and make it something else, go with the edit option. If you want the original field to be there because you'll use it, but you want a similar field to be created with the existing logic plus something else, then you copy the field and you do the calculations, okay, rather than starting from scratch. Okay.
okay.
So suppose that management level, or suppose that range 1 to 2 lakh, rather than me using that option of create calculated field, I could have just done a copy and I would have added one more condition that total base pay is less than 2 lakh and my
Yeah,
work would have been done. Okay.
yeah.
So let's create the evaluate expression field. I'm going to call it compensation category of worker. Business object, of course, worker. You have to ensure that when you're building a evaluate expression from a true and false condition, the same business object on which the true and false condition is built on, the evaluate expression should be on the same BO. Okay.
Okay.
Because that is a different function. True and false is a different function in Workday, right? Here
Yeah,
we are creating a different function altogether. So it will be a separate field and it will be called as evaluate expression. Okay.
yeah. There it is. Yeah.
Now I click on over here and now listen to me very carefully. The first thing here is to choose text, date, what kind of field you are trying to return over here. This will determine, so suppose I want to return right now a text, right? I have to write medium compensated or highly compensated, which is not a field in Workday. It's just a text constant. So I'm going to select text. But what if you would have wanted to return a date? That if so and so condition is true, return so and so static date or maybe a dynamic date. Okay. What if you wanted to return a number? So maybe if someone's salary is in range of 1 to 2 lakh, let's return the number 4. Then you would have selected numeric as the field type. What if you wanted to return a particular currency field? Okay, if someone's salary was in so and so amount, then let's return the bonus field. Okay, then it will be a currency. What if you want to return a true and false condition? In exchange of a true and false condition. So suppose if someone's salary is in 1 to 2 lakh, let's return the value is active. Then you would have selected Boolean. Then comes single
Okay.
and multi-instance. This is a little tricky to understand. When you select single and multi-instance, Workday prompts you for a business object. Now this business object is not supposed to be worker. The business object is not the field in which your condition is built. It is the field in which your return value is built. So suppose if I'm saying that if workers' salary is, mm, let me just add it. If I'm saying that if base pay is 1 lakh, less than 1 lakh, it should return me an organization type. Maybe it should return me that person's cost center. Okay, just a very random logic, but I'm trying to explain you things. Now cost center is an instance field. The reason because only single instance is coming up here is because I have selected single instance here. Okay, Now, cost center happens to be an instance field, and if you will look at the instance field, it's related, its or category happens to be organization. Okay, even though it's built on the worker BO, the category it falls under is mostly organization. So here in this business object, if you will select worker, thinking that cost center is so built on worker BO, let's select worker as a BO, and my field will work fine. You will get an error, and I'll show you. When I'll click on OK, let me just say blank. Okay, empty, sorry. You will get an error and I'll show you why. Don't tell me this is what happened to this. See, I'm getting an error. It says entered information does not meet the restriction for this field. The reason being, even the cost center is built on worker BO, you should, this is always a tried and tested. I know that cost center is an organization type, so maybe I will have to look for something as organization here as a BO so that this one pertains to there, or else you will have to play a bit. Use your logic or something. If I would have been pulling maybe a compensation grade field, I would have maybe typed for compensation grade here in my BO. So let me see if this works fine. I'm just showing you that whenever you use single instance or multi-instance in your return value, you will have to play a lot with your business object. Okay. Let me see if organization works. Usually I just see, yes, cost center happens to be organization type, the category is organization, and that's why my business object organization is working. So never think that if a particular return value is built on a particular BO, the same BO I will use over here. No, you have to think through, maybe use the category in which they are belonging, you look at the related business object, try and test things,
Okay.
but never use the primary view. It's not going to give you the result. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay, got
that's just a very important thing I wanted to teach you, because that's something I have struggled a lot in my career while building reports. So I thought it'll be
yeah.
good to highlight here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will get only multi-instance return values here, and there also you will have to play with the business object. This business object only goes away when when you don't use these two. If I suppose I use text, I don't have to mention any business object. I'm completely good with it. Okay, so I don't have to use any.
Yeah.
Okay. Now my what do we say? My default value is something that should be returned when none of the conditions are true. Okay. So if suppose someone's salary is above 2 lakhs, then what should we show? Maybe it should show up as blank. Many a times client give you a default value and they say that, hey, if none of the conditions are true, return this particular value. But yeah, your default value is something that if none of the conditions are true, then this particular value should return. Right now, I want a text constant. If someone's salary is less than 1 lakh, I want a text constant this to be
My medium
returned.
compensated.
Yeah. Now, what will be your first instinct? You will go and look for something as medium compensated just to see if a text field exists like that or not. What is this? Okay, fine. Anyway, yeah, if this is if medium compensated is returned, then if someone has already built it, well and good. If not, then what would you do? I would need the answer from you. If
We will go to text constant global fields, create
perfect,
calculated field,
what
and
kind
then
of
text
calculated field we would be creating?
medium compensated.
No, what would be the function? Of course, the business object will be
Text
global,
constant, text constant.
right? Yeah. So I will be creating a text constant field here, and it'll say as medium compensated.
Medium
Okay.
compensated.
Makes total sense to us. We have a medium compensated text field. Similarly, for numbers, for dates. If your date is not already stored in Workday and you are struggling, you should just idly go and create one on a global BO. Our next condition was that if someone's salary is between 1 lakh to 2 lakh, then it should return uh, highly compensated, right? So I'm going to find the
Yeah.
true and false condition that I built. This is the one. So if this condition is true, again, we don't have a medium compensated text field. I'm going to go there and quickly create one. Sorry, high. Your wish, since the field is built on worker BO, you can build this field on worker BO, but like I said, numeric constant, date constant, they should ideally be global fields. Let other people also enjoy the fruit of your effort. So you can make it global as well. And this, there goes my evaluate expression field. Evaluate expression is basically returning a particular value type if the conditions are true. Okay, you cannot play with and or over here. You can only play with and or within the true and false condition. Also, one more thing, if you feel that one condition is to be most likely true, means most of the employees fall in a particular range, then
Yeah.
put it on the top. That way you are improving the performance of the field. So if you feel that most, oh, sorry, and 2 lakh and only 30% of employees are in this particular category, then you should ideally put that condition as first, so that because Workday always processes the first condition and it then looks at the second condition. Okay,
Okay.
so that's a performance guide or a performance to do that I want you to remember. Now I
Oh,
have an assignment that I want you to take from this one and try to build this field. Okay,
yes.
I want you to compare uh, employee types of your, what do you say, the workers. No, actually, let me do one thing. I want you to compare three things. Expense line. Let me get into this tenant again. My text constant would have disappeared. I hope it doesn't. Oh, it's automatically opened here. Yeah, it's working. Great. Yeah, here it is. So what I want you to do is, under expense line, there is something called as expense type. Okay. Build a report on expense line. Sorry, build a field on expense line. Okay. I'm going to write
Expense
it on the
line is a
notepad. So
PO.
when you hear the
You're
recording, you
right.
can see what exactly I'm trying. So what I want you to do is compare three types of expenses. I don't know what all expenses are stored here. So on the expense line object, build me a evaluate expression. If expense is airfare, then it should return the word airfare for me. Okay.
Okay.
If expenses maybe find three types of expenses. Okay. And let me see if I can three types of expenses in Workday and give it to you, because I want you to play with financial fields. That's why I'm just, or better than that, why to do this? Build it on journal line. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Build it on journal line. And if the journal line says revenue, if the journal line item, basically the journal line consists the word revenue, then it should return revenue for me. Okay. And if the journal line contains expense in its value, then it should return expense for me. So journal lines are of different type, right? They have their own code and then they have their own revenue instance. Many times it's like 4041, and then it has a company name and the expense word added to it, but they always categorize their journal lines into expense and their revenues. So if journal line is containing the word remember, I'm saying journal line should contain, should not be equal to a particular instance. It should contain expense, then you should return the value expense in the field. If the journal line contains revenue, then you should return the value revenue for me. Okay.
Okay.
Just a small hack to get your brain thinking on the right track. Since I'm saying contain operations can only be used with text fields. Just a small
Okay.
hack. So you will have
Oh,
to see what kind of field is journal line. If it's not a text field, you'll have to figure out a way if you can convert it to a text field. Okay, I've given you
okay.
that much hint as well. But yeah, play around with this as an activity today. Okay.
So journal line is a field, right? Already?
Journal line is a field built on a journal line BO.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So
Uh,
this is your assignment for today. I see we have 6 minutes left. Let me check. Okay. Now our next thing that we are going to talk about is lookup related value. Even though there are 6 minutes, I would like to just give you a brief on what lookup related value is. So let me just move out of this session and get into the deck to explain you this function of lookup related value. Okay. Lookup related basically is used when we have to bring a field built on a secondary business object to a primary business. Okay. So suppose I'm building a report on worker. Okay. Suppose I'm building a report on worker and I have to bring this field, position close date, on that report. Now I know that position close date is not built of worker. It is built of position BO. Okay. But my primary BO for this report happens to be worker. But I have to somewhere bring this field on the worker BO. How do I do it? You would have said ideally that the way you did it last time. We use
Yeah.
position in your business object and just pull position close date, correct? But
Yeah.
what if I want to compare this position close date to some other date on a true and false condition, which is built of worker? Then I can't do it, right? I can do the manipulation in the report very well. I can pull it on the report. But what if I have to build a field where I say the field is being built on worker BO and I have to say that the position close date should be less than the higher date? What if a true and false condition is of that type? Then to somehow I have to build this field on worker BO, right? So Workday does let you do it, and how it lets you do it is via lookup related value function. Whenever you are trying to bring a single instance, remember, it lets you bring single instance fields, not sorry, whenever you are trying to bring a field on a single instance BO, then you will use lookup related value. Okay, it lets you bring fields on single instance BO. Remember that if it's a multi-instance BO, we have a different function for that, which we'll talk about later. But lookup related value only lets you bring fields based on single instance. So suppose this is a report that I have built, right? You can see the deck, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is the report that I have built. Worker, self-reference, and all these fields I have brought on my worker view. Okay, like their name, date of birth, gender, relationship, and everything. But now there are so many other details that I have to bring. I have to bring in their dependent's name, the date of birth. I have to bring in the language-related details, and all these fields are built of some other BO. Okay. In that situation, until unless worker has a one-on-one relationship between the two, you can do LRV. If it doesn't have one-on-one relationship, it has one-to-many relationship, then we will talk about it. What can we do? But it's very important to understand, for you to build an LRV, the relationship between the primary BO and the related BO has to be one-on-one. Means for you to bring in this position close date via a lookup related value, worker should only have one position fed on them. Means the position should be a single instance for worker, not a multi-instance. If it's a multi-instance, we have to do a workaround, which is called something else. If it's if we cannot do that workaround, then we will have to follow another route to bring this field. But for you to build a LRV, it's very important that the relationship between your primary BO and the related BO field has to be one-on-one, not one to many. Suppose same for if you are trying to bring in manager's hire date, manager's salary to a report which is built on the worker business object, then you have to ensure that the manager field on which you are doing the LRV is a single instance field and not a multi-instance. Am I making it clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So I see we have just 2 minutes left. In the meanwhile, I'm not going to get into a hurry here because I want to grab this field and understand it pretty well. So tomorrow we will be talking about LRVs, aggregate related instance, extract single instance, and extract multi-instance. These are the four. And after that, there will be just two tiny fields type that will be left: lookup hierarchy and lookup organization, that we will deal with on Friday for like first 10 minutes, and then we'll be getting into matrix reports and trended reports. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So
Tomorrow
LRV
will be,
is
yeah,
full form
lookup
and
related value that I
lookup
was talking.
related value. Yeah.
Okay. So we will be following. I guess this week will be mostly spent in calculated fields, but I hope everything is making sense to you because, like I said, calculated fields happen to be the backbone. If you mess with
Yes.
the calculated fields, you mess with the report. That's how
Yeah.
it is. Okay.
Yeah.